Drake said it best. We started from the bottom, now we're here. But he definitely wasn't the only one. Hollywood's depiction of the life of a celebrity seems envious at first glance. There's red carpets, exclusive premieres, award shows, magazine covers, you get the idea. But looks can be deceiving, and a lot of our favorite celebs got to where they are now by making it through some pretty tough circumstances. Sometimes, life without that silver spoon means a lot of hustling and grinding to get to the top, and there's so much strength and honor in that. We see so many stars and their glamorous lives, but one can only imagine how much work it took to get there. Selena Gomez. Whether you love listening to her music, wearing makeup from her Rare Beauty line, or were a fan of hers from way back in Wizards of Waverly Place days, Selena Gomez is a beauty and style icon to say the least. But before the fame and success, she lived a completely different life. Selena's mother was 16 years old when she had her. Making ends meet was difficult for her family. In fact, when Selena was young, she remembered searching around for quarters to put gas in the car. Despite her hardships, Selena's mother continued to work hard to provide for her family. And when Selena was 7 years old, she finally had her big break, appearing on the show Barney and Friends.
Great, and I think we can make some nice presents.
Where she also met and co-starred with fellow pop icon Demi Lovato. Seeing how hard her mom worked to raise her, it's no surprise that Selena's been taking her career by storm and has grown into the talented singer, actress, and businesswoman that she is today. J.Lo. Jenny from the Block can be seen nowadays in designer fashion and in multiple multi-million-dollar homes. But while growing up in the Bronx neighborhood of Castle Hill, she and her siblings had to live pretty sparingly. Eventually, her parents saved up enough money to move the family into a 2-story house in the same neighborhood. But that didn't mean money wasn't tight, as her dad worked nights and her mother worked as a Tupperware lady, while also working at her daughter's school. Growing up, J.Lo's mom would ask for her and her sisters to put on shows and perform for the rest of the family to keep the girls busy, and that must have struck a chord with Jennifer. She and her mother didn't see eye to eye on her dream to pursue entertainment, and this even led to a falling out between the two. But eventually, she'd later go on to work in Europe and LA before starring in her iconic role in the biopic Selena. Justin Bieber. Okay, we all remember back in 2010 when Justin released the song Baby, and more or less took over the world of pop music for the foreseeable future. It played on seemingly every radio station non-stop, and we were all here for it. But Justin came from much humbler beginnings. Though money is obviously of no issue for him now, Justin still remembers what it was like growing up poor and being teased by other kids because of it. He told Britain's OK magazine, "I remember sitting in restaurants with my mother, and she'd make me order water instead of soda. I remember so badly wanting to order a soda." He went on to state, "I also remember that when I got my first big paycheck, I was so glad to be able to use that money to take care of my mom." As someone who made it through both financial hardships growing up and the pressures of fame at such a young age, Justin Bieber is a survivor to say the least. Cardi B. Whether you like her music or not, there's probably been at least a time or two where the hilarious and outspoken 28-year-old rapper has made you laugh on your timeline.
Today, we're going to be reading about Everyone Poops.
But behind the jokes and the success of her #1 hit songs, Cardi's upbringing did a lot to shape her personality and to make her the star she is today. A fellow Bronx native to J.Lo, Cardi grew up with little money, but praised her parents for all they did to provide for her family. In an interview, she states, "I have real good parents. They poor. They have regular, poor jobs and whatnot. They real good people. I was just raised in a bad society." But if you're familiar with Cardi, you know that would never hold her back. She made ends meet by working as a dancer at night in different clubs in New York, and eventually went viral on Vine and Instagram before being cast in Love and Hip Hop. The rest is history. Lizzo. As one of the most influential artists we see today, Lizzo has taken the world by storm with her chart-topping songs, her upbeat and hilarious personality, and her activism and focus on self-love and self-care. But we'd definitely be lying if we told you that she didn't have to fight through some pretty tough times to get there. She formed a musical group called the Cornrow Clique when she was in high school and would later go on to excel at playing the flute. But she was eventually left with nowhere to go following the loss of her father when she was 21. She slept on friends' couches and even in her car for months before eventually becoming co-signed by Prince in 2011. She continued to perform and hone in on her craft, and in 2017, Lizzo released the ever-so-famous single, Truth Hurts, and, well, we pretty much never stopped singing it. Through strength, perseverance, and hard work, she rebuilt herself from the ground up and became the icon we see dominating the stage today. Mila Kunis. The talented beauty that is Mila Kunis was a household name for a lot of us who tuned in to see her witty sense of humor on the series, That 70s Show.
Maybe I just need someone to tell me if I'm crazy.
Jackie, you're crazy.
Not you, Bigfoot.
Where she co-starred alongside her now husband, Ashton Kutcher. But before her rise to fame, she had her fair share of struggles. Mila was born in Ukraine, when it was still a part of the Soviet Union. And though they were well off there, things changed drastically when her family moved to America with a budget of only $250. Her father went from being a mechanical engineer to driving a taxi, and her mother went from teaching physics to running a pharmacy. But the family worked hard and made ends meet regardless. As a successful actress, Mila may no longer have to worry about money anymore, but she also refuses to raise entitled children. According to People magazine, she and her husband Ashton decided to raise their children humbly because they both came from pretty solid poverty backgrounds and are very aware of what a dollar is worth. Nicki Minaj. A rap legend who's been in the game for well over a decade, Nicki has dominated the rap industry. And as she's worth an estimated $85 million, checking price tags could be a thing of the past for her. But she had to endure some serious hardships to get to where she is now. She was born in St. James, Trinidad and Tobago, and grew up in Queens in New York. And when she was young, her father suffered from addiction, and their home went up in flames with the family still inside it. But even through all of that, Nicki hustled to pursue her dreams. She tried her hand at acting after graduating from LaGuardia, a music and performing arts high school in New York, but eventually found her path when she started rapping back in 2004. She released multiple mixtapes before getting the attention of Lil Wayne, who signed her to his label, Young Money Entertainment, and we're pleased to say that she's been killing it ever since. Tiffany Haddish. We see Tiffany getting numerous shout-outs from people like Kevin Hart and Beyoncé, and we see her performing in venues around the world. She's upbeat, undeniably funny, and seems like the kindest person you'll ever meet.
You look amazing!
But a lot of this may be because she's kept her head up after having to endure so much in her life. She grew up in South Central Los Angeles in a single-parent home. As a child, her mother suffered from brain damage due to a car accident she was in, which left Tiffany to take on a lot more responsibility than most kids should have to. Her family was even split into foster homes until her grandmother reunited them when she was 15. After all of that, Tiffany understandably started acting out and was told by her social worker that she should either see a psychiatrist or go to the Laugh Factory Comedy Club. And, well, I think we know which path she chose, as now she's one of the most well-known stand-up comedians in Hollywood. Scarlett Johansson. Let's be real, Scarlett Johansson has quite the extensive actor's resume, and her filmography speaks for itself, as the Avengers star was reportedly the highest-paid actress back in 2016 and has done pretty well for herself since then. But during an interview, she opened up about her difficult childhood. She mentioned in an interview with James Lipton, "We were living on welfare. We were on food stamps. My parents were raising 4 kids in a low-income household in Manhattan. My mom tried to be as much as a buffer as possible with that experience. It was a lot." She eventually landed her big break in the 1998 film The Horse Whisperer, and since then, she's gone on to make an impressive name for herself in Hollywood. All of her hard work, dedication, and love for the work she was doing eventually led her all the way to Marvel Studios, and come on, you can't say she's not an amazing Black Widow. Kelly Clarkson. It seems like Kelly Clarkson has been performing for as long as some of us have been alive. Maybe because her musical accomplishments and accolades speak for themselves. She's had more hit singles than most of us can keep up with, and her voice could easily move millions. But growing up, Kelly's family lived pre-paycheck to pre-paycheck, and they struggled for years. After high school, she moved to Los Angeles with the hopes of making it as a musician. But things got much worse before they got better. She lost a lot of the little she had when her apartment went up in flames, leaving her to sleep in her car until she eventually made it back home to Texas. But as someone who came from humble beginnings, she knew better than to let her current circumstances define her. Kelly Clarkson is the definition of turning lemons into the proverbial lemonade, because in 2002, she heard of auditions for a little show called American Idol, and well, we all know what happened after that.
Okay, the next song.
As superficial as Hollywood may seem sometimes, there are quite a few celebs who are continuously showing us that no matter where you come from, if you work hard and believe in yourself, there's literally nothing you can't do. Which celeb's background were you inspired by the most? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to The Taco for more videos just like this one.